Now, if it feels like there's more cars parked in your street these days, then you're probably not imagining it, because there are now more than 2.6 million cars registered in WA. And you might have seen the story in the West this morning that nearly 40% of households have 2 cars, and that is more than any other state. Now, one man who understands a car-loving household is Neil Lefebvre, who's the Chief Executive at the Motor Trades Association of WA. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning, Nadia. How are you?
First of all, I'm well. I do need to ask you, how many cars in your house?
Yeah, I've got to admit we've got 5.
Oh, so it's parents and kids, is it?
It is parents and kids. So we have 5 adults in the house, so 5 cars. We managed, when the kids were younger, we managed on 1 car for a couple of years. And, I was living close or working close to the city, so it was easy for me to get in on public transport and run the kids around on the weekend, but that soon changed. And but we were full cars until very recently. So my last job, I was relying on running and cycling into work. But this current role in the motor trade industry, I need a car to get around a lot.
Yeah. Look, and you're not alone. And if we look at the stats, it's 1 in 5 households have more than 3 cars in WA. Only Tasmania has a high rate, but we also know that 40% have 2 cars. Why are we still such a car-loving city?
Yeah, look, this comes down to principally to geography for us. So it's that distance for travel and the density of population as well. So we know that Perth is one of the most sprawling cities, the longest cities in the world. I think it's about 150 k's between Two Rocks and Dawesville. And we've got the traditional quarter-acre block, which I know doesn't exist as much these days, but compared to other major cities around Australia, we have lower density. So that's been a real driver behind this. So when your homes and your jobs and your services are further apart, that normally tends to drive people towards taking a car. Yeah.
Do you think that with these higher fuel prices, there might be people out there thinking, okay, well, maybe let's just park one for a while?
Look, I'm sure there are. I know that's happened in my family. My wife has just bought an e-bike, so she's got a 4-wheel drive for her commute of 3 k's every day, and she's just swapped that over to an e-bike. So I know for the time being, she'll be avoiding the car for a bit of time.
Will this trend change, though, do you think? I mean, or is it that our public transport still isn't good enough?
Look, there's been great investment in public transport over the years and certainly recently. But again, we have that challenge of the really big sprawl we have in Perth and the ability to get that public transport reaching to everyone. So I'd be very surprised if we saw people ditching cars. When you invest in a car, you normally keep it in your family. And if my in-laws are anything to go by, both in their 80s, have 2 cars. So these things give you independence, and they become a bit hard to give up after a while.
Those habits are hard to break. I notice here in WA where we seem to be very attached to our cars. And I'm guilty of it too, I've got to be honest.
Yeah, we are. And look, there's some definitely attached to our cars, and a core component of that still comes with getting to work. So commuting into work. Back in the last census that was done, about 57% of people at a national level relied on their cars to get to work versus 68% in WA. So we've got that natural tendency towards needing our cars for the big area that we live in.
Neil Lefebvre is my guest this morning. He's the Chief Executive of the Motor Trades Association of WA. Can I just touch on fuel security with you, because the MTA has been involved in the fuel security roundtable talks, and we'll get an update in a moment from the Federal Energy Minister, Chris Bowen. But what are your members concerned about? What are the issues that you've been raising?
Yeah, look, the primary issue has been one of ensuring we have adequate fuel supplies here in Australia and in WA, and the data we've been consistently seeing, and the state government's been taking a strong stance on this with the fuel companies, has been that supply has continued to come into the country, but we have a large proportion of our members who are involved in the transport industry, and we've got people involved in farm machinery distribution out across the regions. And certainly in this commencement of the challenges around fuel, we were seeing a lot of heavy demand. So although the supply into the country and into WA was still the same, the demand was pretty high. So it was creating a backlog for fuel to be restocked.
I mean, is 30 days or 34, 36, it sort of hovers around there, is that enough to have in reserves? Would you feel more comfortable if we were able to have 2 or 3 months?
Look, I think everybody would feel more comfortable if we had more, with the benefit of hindsight. And there's, I know we're one of the lower levels of storage versus other nations involved. But certainly previous fuel issues, and there seemed to be a fuel crisis every 10 years. Previously, we haven't had these issues, and we've hovered around that 30 days consistently. And still, the last numbers I saw were suggesting we still have around that volume. But certainly if you look at something like diesel, diesel is the workhorse fuel of our nation, and we're reliant on it for so many things. So you would love to see some longer term investments in securing up more diesel in the state.
Where do we put it though? Because the other issue that comes up again is that, with the BP refinery closed a few years ago, maybe we should have, government should have done more or whatever to try and keep that going. But has that ship sailed? I mean, will we ever refine more than what we do?
Look, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I don't know the details of being able to switch those refineries back on, and we have the cost of production was obviously always the issue for turning those off. But I know that at a national level, there were some grants a couple of years ago into building more fuel storage around the nation, and there were a couple of places in WA that benefited from those grants. I would anticipate that we would see more money flowing in that regard, enabling us to shore up more stocks. And certainly considering our heavy reliance here in WA on transport for food, the farmers and the miners as well, we have a heavy usage of diesel and heavy reliance on diesel.
Yeah, I'll leave it there. Good to talk to you. Neil Febvre there, Chief Executive at the Motor Trades Association.